It was the 23rd of August, 1914. The sun was setting over the fields of Belgium, casting long shadows over the soldiers of the British Expeditionary Force. They were tired, hungry, desperate. They had been fighting all day in the small town of Mons, facing wave after wave of German soldiers. The air was thick with gunpowder and the cries of the wounded. And then, it happened. A sight so extraordinary that it would be whispered about in hushed tones for decades to come. They saw angels. The Battle of Mons was brutal. The British forces, though highly trained, were vastly outnumbered, about 70,000 men against nearly 160,000 German troops. The Germans were relentless, advancing with precision and force, while the British struggled to hold their ground. Soldiers were exhausted, running low on ammunition, and morale was crumbling. As the British began their retreat, the situation seemed hopeless. The roads were clogged with wounded men, and supplies were scattered in disarray. The Germans were closing in. Death felt inevitable. But then, amidst the chaos, some soldiers began shouting, "Look! Look to the skies!" At first, many thought it was an enemy airship. But what they saw was nothing of this earth. Hovering above the battlefield, glowing figures appeared. Some described them as winged beings, their forms shimmering in the smoky air. Others saw them as ghostly warriors, men in ancient armor, standing shoulder to shoulder as if ready to charge. One soldier later recounted, "I saw them with my own eyes, tall, bright figures that stood between us and the enemy. They didn't move, but it was as if their presence alone held the Germans back." Another described hearing a faint melodic sound, like a choir singing in the distance. The German advance inexplicably stalled. Soldiers on both sides reported a strange stillness falling over the battlefield. For the British, it was as though the angels were holding back death itself. Private William Atkins was one of those who claimed to have seen the angels. He was a young man, barely 19, and had never been far from his home in Yorkshire before the war. He wrote in a letter to his family, "We were done for. Everyone knew it. But then I saw them, 3 figures in the sky, glowing like the sun. They didn't speak, but it was as if they were telling us, 'Keep going. You'll make it out alive.' Atkins survived the battle." He would later say that the memory of those angels kept him going through the darkest days of the war. The story of the Angels of Mons quickly spread. Soldiers wrote home about what they had seen, and newspapers picked up the tale. It became a beacon of hope for a weary nation. But as the story grew, so did the questions. Some skeptics argued that the visions were merely a product of exhaustion and fear hallucinations brought on by the stress of battle. Others pointed to a short story called The Bowman, written by Arthur Machen in 1915, which told of ghostly archers from the Battle of Agincourt appearing to save British soldiers. Machen himself insisted it was fiction, but many believed his story was based on real events. Then there were the German accounts. Some German soldiers reportedly refused to advance, claiming they had seen celestial beings guarding the British lines. What could explain this shared experience? Historians and scientists have debated the Angels of Mons for over a century. Was it divine intervention, as many believed? Or was it a case of mass hysteria, where soldiers influenced by one another all imagined the same thing? Another theory points to atmospheric phenomena. Under the right conditions, light and smoke can create strange illusions in the sky. Could the angels have been a trick of light, magnified by the heightened emotions of war? Yet, none of these theories fully explain why the story resonated so deeply, or why so many people on both sides of the battlefield described the same thing. The Angels of Mons became more than just a story. They became a symbol. For those fighting in the trenches, they represented hope. For those at home, they were proof that God had not abandoned them. But perhaps the real power of the Angels of Mons lies in their mystery. Whether you see them as divine messengers, psychological phenomena, or simply a story that grew larger over time, they remind us of humanity's unshakable need for faith and meaning, even in the darkest moments. So what do you believe? Were the Angels of Mons a miraculous intervention from above, a trick of the mind, or something else entirely? Maybe we'll never know the full truth. But one thing is certain: their story continues to inspire, to comfort, and to remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there is always hope. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales of mystery, faith, and the unexplained. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened that day?